Hey guys, it's RASPI Tech again. Today I wanted to show you some of the basic, what they call bash commands in terminal. Just kind of a little bit more setup stuff for your Pi, as well as learning how to navigate it a little bit better, just so you have a stronger understanding of what's going to be going on in some of these other videos. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. In the last video I showed you how to set up my a VNC, so if you're confused why I'm in Windows but also in my Pi and how I did that, if you want to set that up, my last video we went over how to do that as well as SSH connections. So for now, let's pretend that everyone's just on their Pi's desktop, and let's open up an iTerminal here. So again, you notice that you're in your Pi at Raspberry, and if you've set this up for the first time, one of the notices you'll keep getting is, hey, your password's still the default password. You should change that. Well, that's right. Of course, there's not a huge security risk with being on a local area connection, or a local area network, and there's not a huge security issue if you're not even on a network. However, it's not a bad idea to change that. So there's a couple ways of doing it. Obviously, you can go into RASPI config, you can go into your actual account settings up here and change it, but for the most part, I'm going to show you guys just how to use iTerminal, because iTerminal is much more powerful, it's much more useful knowledge. A lot of this will transfer over to other Linux systems. So it's a good idea to just go ahead and learn how to use terminal now. So in the last video, we kind of talked about sudo a little bit, so we're going to sudo again, and we're going to do password, and then for Pi. This is going to ask for a new password. And there we go. That was pretty easy, right? So, I mean, this is pretty straightforward. Sudo, again, is super user do this. And that's basically a way of allowing us to have root's administrative privileges. And it logs that we use sudo and what we used it for. So what do we use it for? We use the command password and the parameter Pi. So basically, we change the password of the user Pi. Now, we want to also do this for our root, so that we can actually just start logging into root and we don't have to type sudo every time, because that can get very annoying, especially if you're doing more complicated tasks. So let's go ahead and do that. So in order to do that, we do need actual root privileges to change the password to root. So we're going to type sudo root, sudo password, and then root. It's going to ask for a new password for root. Make this one a stronger password and more complex than your last one. This is a very important password. You don't want anyone to really get their hands on that but you. So definitely make sure that one's secure. And now let's test and see if that works. So in order to change users in Linux, you type su minus and then whoever. Now with root, you don't type anything. It's just su minus. Type in our password, and voila, we're in as root. Now root doesn't have to type sudo anymore. So let's say we want to change the password of Pi again. We can just type password Pi, and look at that. So obviously that's super useful, not having to type sudo every single time you want to do something. You can also go ahead and change user back to Pi. Now I want to show you something kind of interesting, and this is very important for later. If you type su and Pi, it will change you to Pi, but you'll see this. Now what does that mean? It means you're pretty much operating as root. You've got the same setup as root. This can be a problem to your security, as well as it can cause some other issues in later commands and codes that you could write, various scripts and whatnot. So we don't want that. That's what that su parameter is for. So when you change users, make sure and do that minus or that dash, whichever you prefer. And now whereas Pi, we don't have root, so that's nice. At any point, you can also type log out, and it'll log that user out. Now Pi is or root is still logged into, so remember when you change from root to Pi and you don't want anyone to be able to mess with root, go ahead and log out. Alright, so now we've kind of got root set up and everything, let's go over how to add users, add and remove users. So say your mom is really interested in your hobby, she likes the Raspberry Pi, and she wants you to make her an account. Well, you can either go through your normal graphics user interface and do that, or you can use it through iTerm. So they have a really cool command actually here, and it's a, if I'm not mistaken, Perl-based script that's pre-coded into the Raspberry Pi. It's called add user. Now, the command that you're going to see online a lot is user add, and that's not a bad one. It works, but this script is really cool and it comes with it, so we're going to use that. So add user. Oop. So add user, and then you type their name. That's my bad. So let's say mom wanted it, so we're going to make add user mom. So we need to make mom a password. You can always use no password. That's just what I'm going to do for now. So no password surprise. Oh, you can't. So you do need a password. Sorry. Let's just make it mom for now. Oop. There we go. Now it's going to ask for the full name. Just put your mom's name. There's a option for a room number. You can always put like NA, work phone, home phone, and then other notes. Go ahead and say yes for that. And it's added. Now it actually logs all that as a file, so this is really cool if you're actually making like a server and you want people to log in to actually have this information logged, so you can, you know, let's say you're the root and you look in, you say, hey, this person's messing with something with sudo that they're really not supposed to. You can look them up, look up their name, number, give them a call and be like, hey, we need to talk, you need to stop messing with that, you know, that kind of thing. So it's kind of cool that it'll let you put all that on there. You can also always just do user add. Now, on top of user add, you also have okay, so let's say you need to remove mom because she, you know, she was interested for a week or so, and then she decided, I don't really enjoy this as much as I thought I would. So we need to go ahead and remove her. So to do that, it's user, user delete, and then mom. And that's it. Now, the only problem, of course, is if we actually go in to look at her directory. So let's say we look at our file explorer here. Well, notice she still has a directory, which could potentially be taking up space. So even though we deleted her user and her login, that directory is still there. So in order to do that, we're going to go ahead and look for, it's under home and then mom. So if we do an ls here, you'll notice we're in the home directory because there's no slashes or anything. So we do ls. We'll mess with that later. So we actually want to do cd /home /mom. Now you notice it's actually finishing what I type. If you type a letter and hit tab and there's nothing else that corresponds with that letter, it'll just finish the command. So if we do home, do ls, which lists our directories and files, we'll see that mom is one. Well, we need to remove recursively mom. Now let's go over what some of this means real quick, because I know this is a little fast. ls lists what's below, and there's different parameters I can show you that are all very useful. We're going to see ls a lot, so make note of that. What we've done here is rm, which removes, and this is used for files. So kind of interesting that we use that on directory, right? How does that work? Usually you see removed or, well, what we're doing is making sure that if there was a file in it, let's say cd mom, whoops, cd, let's just do, I think it's just like this. Yeah. So we're in the mom directory. I'm going to use touch to make a new file. Touch is just the command to make a new file. So if you were to look in the directory now, you'll see under mom, there's test file. It's just blank. If we try to do a remove directory mom, whoop, we have to go back. So cd ... that goes, the two dots will actually just go back one in the directory, so we'll go from mom to home. So now we're back in home list. There's mom. We say we don't need the directory mom. Removed her. Mom. Failed to remove because the directory is not empty. So let's use that command I was showing you earlier, and this will kind of show why we're using that. So rm for remove files, recursively mom. You'll notice mom has been deleted. So what that does, recursive, it means it's going to apply it as many times as it's applicable. So when we said remove the files from mom, it's actually going to remove the directory mom. It's also going to remove every single file inside there. So that's why we're using rm. And now, when we listed in our home directory, we notice that her account is not there. So not only have we removed the user, but we've gotten rid of all the files. That can be very useful. Again, both have their application, so make sure you do what you mean to do. If you remove an account from there because someone isn't using it, but you know they may want the pictures and stuff they have saved on there, you can just remove the user and keep the directory. That's useful. Now, if you know that they're never coming back and they're never going to use their stuff and you don't want to take up stuff on your Raspberry Pi, absolutely go ahead and delete that. That's useful. If you type cd, you'll go back to your basic home root directory there. And it's not the home directory, it's the root directory. So I misspoke earlier. Yeah, those are some of the basics with just adding users and such. There's a few you should probably know. So ls is really important. ls-a will show you hidden files. So you notice if we just do ls, we just get mailed error. But if we do ls-a, we get all of these. There's forward one directory, or I'm not sure what that one is actually. This one is back one directory. You have your bash history, cache. I mean, these are all hidden. Nano's fantastic. We'll use that. VNC is fantastic. We are using that. So these are all there even though they're not listed. There's ls-l, which will show the permissions of something. So you see for maildir, we actually have the last time it was modified as well as who can use it and what they can use it for. So we can use, like, for example, ls-la. Now we see all the permissions for all the hidden files as well and who can do what. And you can see all the permissions are different. So clear will always clear out of a screen. Let's see, what else is super useful? Touch is a good one. Nano is a good one. So touch just makes a file. So let's go home. What's our desktop under? What is our desktop listed under? It's a little different on Linux, I forget. It's under the user. So yeah, so if we go cd home /pi/desktop with a capital D, and we say touch test file, we'll notice on our desktop we actually have something called test file now, which is kind of cool. Now that's, I guess, a little useful because you can create a blank file, but it's not the most useful. So let's talk about a couple different ways we can actually put information into them. One is the basic command echo. Echo will actually just repeat whatever you tell it to repeat. So if I say echo hello, it's just going to repeat hello. Now let's say we say echo hello, and we give it a direction. We say go to the file test file. Now if we look into test file, look at that, it echoed that in. So that's not bad. Now if we say go, and instead of hello we say test, now if we open it up, what we're going to find is that now instead of hello it says test. Well, I don't know, like, that's cool, but sometimes you want it to add to there, right? So let's go back to hello, and now let's put 2 arrows. Instead of hello, we'll put comma, how are you? Now let's look at it. And it did a little bit different than I thought. We didn't necessarily need that space, but it appended is the language they use. it appended to the file. So that's how you would append a file, is with 2 arrows. Of course, you can always just replace it. And it will just replace that. So that's kind of interesting, but not the best way to edit files. Now, there are different text editors. The most common one is going to be called VI. And it's an alright one. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it does work. I'm not a huge fan of it. What I like to use is called Nano, and this is the one that I'm really comfortable with. So if we went into that same file, we can say nano test. This one is a lot easier to use, and it works just like you would. So we can say hello, how are you? Now you'll notice you have all these commands at the bottom too. So what these carets mean is control and then the letter. So like, let's say we want to look up where the word how is. We can hit Control W, how. And it's going to put our cursor on the first letter of the word. So this is much more useful, I think, than VI, and it comes with the Pi. So I think this is what I will be using for all my videos, and I recommend you use it as well. It's just a lot easier. Now, in order to save, you actually just hit Control X for exit. And then do you want to save it? Yes. Do you want to save it as the same file or a different file? Well, same. And there you go. So those are some of the basics that we're going to be using. Let me know if there's anything else that you think would be useful to know in something like this, or if you want to know how to do something, because there are ways to do it. There's so many of them that it's hard to keep track of. In fact, before I close the video, let me just show you this. So I would recommend making a cheat sheet something like this. These are all Linux-based commands, and you can see I have pretty detailed notes on how to use each one. I would definitely recommend that you do something similar. Either Notepad or OneNote, which is free and you can access from your phone and stuff. I love OneNote. I think that's the best way to go. But yeah, just start. Anytime you learn a new one, just go ahead and add it. If you have questions on what any of these do or how to do something, just let me know, because I do have a nice little collection going. But yeah, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of stuff to do. Hopefully these are just a couple of the basics that I know you're going to have to use. Let me show you 2 more real quick that are also really useful. So let's say I want to know how nano works. Type in man and then nano, and this pulls up what's called a pager, which is a special way of displaying the information, but it will tell you everything about nano. I mean, description, editing. You hit space and it gets you to the next page. Just Q to quit when you're done. I mean, they got all kinds of different things. So, I don't know. Manual is a very useful one. You will use that quite a bit. The other thing you can do is hit nano -- help. And then this is it's not a pager, so it's probably a little more what a new person would kind of find to their speed, but manuals are better. The pagers are better, so learn how to use those. But this will tell you all the different things you can kind of do with it. And you can see it's not as much information as the manual either, so definitely learn how to just type man and a command, so ls. And now we know how to do ls. So anyways, I hope this has been useful, and I will see y'all in the next video. Again, if you have any questions on anything, either comment below or email me at raspitech93@gmail.com. I'll be happy to answer those for you. Have a good one.